Not one, but two overtime games in the quarterfinals of the Summer 18 season here in Rhode Island, and we're here to break it down and get you ready for the semifinals that are now set for Tuesday, August 14th. I'm here with Mike Banderi and Tyler Cruz. I'm Joey Zacco. Let's start with the double overtime game. Not only was there two overtime games, there was an overtime game to start the night and a double overtime game to end the night. That's why we're here so late, as you can see behind us. Werewolves and Bucket Chasers in double overtime. The Bucket Chasers seem to be in control at the end of regulation. They seem to be in control somewhat at the end of the first overtime, and that's usually what happens when you blow a couple chances like that. The other team, usually, just how things fall and how things shake out, pull away and put it away in that second overtime, and that's what happened with the Werewolves. And so Brian Heston started attacking more in that second half leading into those overtimes. What did you guys see as the Werewolves advance and win their first playoff game ever as a team in this league?
When they tied it up at the end with Heston's three over there, I don't know if it was the first or second overtime, I kind of knew it was the Werewolves game right there. The momentum had completely shifted that way. The Bucket Chasers had chance after chance after chance to put them away, end the game in regulation, and they didn't do it. And the Bucket Chasers were the better team tonight, but the Werewolves came away with the win because of how they executed down the stretch.
Yeah, I agree. Couple of crazy plays to even put them back into the game to tie it up. Brad Allen's dunk almost at the buzzer, and then Gino's three from nearly half court. In a game like that, I just think every play becomes so critical. One play that stands out to me is Sergio turning the ball over in the corner right there. And then I think off the next play is when they tied it up, and then they went into overtime after that.
It looked bleak for the Werewolves, who turned it over, and sometimes down 4, down 5 at almost the end of regulation. Like Heston just dribbled it.
It looked bleak for them for most of the game. Heston and Gino, just they couldn't find a groove. They couldn't find it at all until the end. They were just putting together mini 2, 3, 4 basket runs and then at a time, and then they finally were able to be like, okay, we know we can calm down. We're going to score the ball. They're tired. I think they took advantage of that too. I think the Werewolves have played in a couple more late games. I think they're a little bit more conditioned. That's the word for it. Yep.
Yes.
I think they went down a couple times, not to cut you off, but Heston kind of just wasn't himself tonight. I think once he settled down, I think then the team settled down, and then towards the end of the game, they really made those big plays.
Yeah, once you saw a couple of the late game threes going for Heston, that's when you knew, okay, he's back. It's not going to be a bad game for him. We can write off the whole storyline that Heston and Gino shot terribly and the Bucket Chasers won. So
there you go, and that writes the story. I was talking after the first overtime game of the night. I was walking past Boom Shakalaka, who was getting ready for their playoff game, and they were like, a wise man once said, you don't want to play the halfway crooks in the playoffs. And I was like, I like that. And I would be that wise man last season. I was calm this season, even though I do like some additions we made this season.
They might have been talking about me.
I know, who knows?
I was the only one to pick you guys.
There you go. Shout out. Just keep patting yourself right on the back there. Mike Wilbur, John Stein played very well today.
Had a really big
Wilbur
second half.
Picked it up in the second half for sure.
Defensively, too.
The halfway crooks in overtime take down the third-seeded Swish Kebabs, the lone upset of this quarterfinals as the 6 seed does advance on. They'll take on the 2-seeded Lob City. We'll get to how Lob got there in a second. But first, the halfway crooks, 54-52. Got to overtime. Jared Hansen, injured, comes back, hits a big three in the overtime to kind of kick it off. And when it's only a 2-minute overtime, any points are big. And so when you score on your first possession, it gives you a huge advantage. Yeah. And the halfway crooks, I think, turned it around in the second half and made enough plays down the stretch to get the win.
I think you guys did take advantage of, the Swish Kebab short bench, especially in the second half when you were able to turn it around, come back. And then I think it was you guys were down 2 with 0.1 seconds left. Yeah. Hansen got fouled. He was able to sink both free throws, come back in. Very next possession to start overtime. Sunk the 3, and I think it was 3 of the 4 points you guys scored in overtime, all you needed.
Exactly.
So it's just Hansen carried that.
I agree. I think you guys also kind of outsmarted them a little bit. I know you had a bunch of game planning going into it.
As in me not playing. That was the game
On paper, Swish Kebab should have won this game. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more athletic. They're the higher seed. They had a better regular season, but all that goes out the window in playoffs, and all it takes is 2 minutes of overtime to.
I didn't want to say this last week, but I was hoping you guys would lose to the Bucket Chasers because you guys have matched up against Swish so well all season. The Bucket Chasers matched up against the Werewolves so well all season. So I was like, there's going to be a lot of excitement if that happens the way it did, and it was. We had 3 overtime periods combined between the 2 games.
There you go. We can go a little quickly more. So through these, Lob City beats the Wild Hogs 91-63. Wild Hogs made it interesting for a half, but it was Lob City, kind of doing what they do, hitting their shots, getting out and running really picking up that pace in the second half.
Well, when Joey Coro went down, that was kind of it for you guys. You had nobody to combat Darius or Carl. You did try, and I give you the credit for trying. You came in and you started hot right away. You guys had the lead in the first quarter at one point. So you guys did start. I think it was 2-0. You hit the first basket.
Yeah, I hit the
and then
first
4-3 because Coro hit one, and then Cody hit another 3. But you guys did start hot. It was just once Coro went down, the height was really too much. You were putting too much energy in on the boards, and that was it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Awesome. And then boom and shake, another wide margin of top 2 seeds roll. That's kind of what you play for in the regular season, those matchups. Boom Shakalaka takes down Shake and Bake. Only had 4 guys, Shake and Bake did. And so we talked, Boom in their interview talked a lot about their second unit. Of course, it was their bench players doing the interviews. They were patting themselves on the back there. They were saying how much they got out and kind of carried the team. Who knows if that's actually what happened. I mean, Boom's a good team, and a lot of pieces contribute for them.
I was just going to say, I don't really feel like their second unit really is a bench. They could have their own team and be starting.
And doesn't Stitcher come off the bench half the time?
Sometimes, yeah. Right. It's very deceptive when they say
if they're in an orange jersey out there, they're probably pretty good.
Yeah, they could rotate their starters in.
And so, as we mentioned, one Boom advances to play the 4th-seeded Werewolves. They'll either be at 8 or 9 o'clock on Tuesday, August 14th, next week, our normal Tuesday night games. Quick preview on that one, Boom and the Werewolves. They played earlier in the year. I would imagine. I don't think it was particularly
I think it was
close.
the last week of the season, too.
Oh, they just played.
Yes, they
so
just
they'll get
played.
another rematch there. Any quick notes on that one?
They held Stitcher to 5 points and Lucas Martin to 6 points, and they still lost by 20.
I don't think I saw either one of those matchups.
So good
But
talk.
you were playing Shake and Bake when they played.
Yeah.
On paper, I don't really think the Werewolves match up very well with Boom.
I think they have Heston who can guard Stitchell, but once it gets past that, they really have. I mean, Gino might match up well with Lucas Martin, but they don't really have. Trevor's very athletic, and he can play in more than just the paint, whereas the bigs and the Werewolves are kind of confined to that near the basket area.
Exactly. And then, as I mentioned, the 2-seeded Lob City gets ready to take on the 6-seeded Halfway Crooks in the other semifinal on Tuesday the 14th. Any thoughts on that one? I mean, it was last time we played, only because I was there, thank God. It was a close game.
19,
in the first quarter, we did our usual first quarter sluggish start. They get up by 15, 16, 17, and it stayed that margin the rest of the game. And so it's easier said than done to be like, oh, just do what you did the last 3 quarters the whole game. But it wasn't necessarily out of hand. Lob's a good team, and they kept it at 15 the entire game, after the first quarter. But any notes on that one?
I think if you guys have a full squad, you guys can definitely match up against Lob's height. I don't know about their shooting ability and athleticism, but definitely the height. I'll give you that.
You make shots. You don't
You
miss.
can get
I was talking to
rebounds,
Mike.
yeah.
If you don't miss, you win. That goes for any team. You just don't miss.
That's a
There's
good
a lot
plan.
of
That's a
easier
good
things
plan.
that are said than done when it comes to playing lob. What we tried to do tonight was just they like to play fast and they like to score a lot of points. Obviously, they scored 90 plus after scoring only 12 in the first quarter. But we just tried to really slow the ball down, foul them when they could. But it worked for a half. But like you said, it's easier to do that for one half than a full period.
And making shots, I'd make a joke if you don't, miss, you can win. Making shots is huge against them. It keeps them out of transition. And so that's twofold. Obviously, you want to make shots to score yourself. It also then makes them take it out of the basket. And that's one way to slow down one of the fastest teams in the league. So 1 Boom, 2 Lob, 6 Halfway Crooks, and 4 the Werewolves are on to the semifinals. They'll be here Tuesday, August 14th at the Johnson Rec Center. For the guys, good job. I'm Joey. We'll see you as the playoffs continue. Also have the All-Star Draft coming up on the 14th. As we start to wind down, only 4 teams left here in Rhode Island for the Summer 18 season. We'll see you in the semifinals.